Hello and welcome to another video here with us at Amplified Studio. Today I'm going to talk to you about newborn safety in the photography industry. Now this is something that's really important and very close to our hearts, so I thought we'd talk to you a little bit about the importance of newborn safety and how to make sure that you're selecting a photographer that knows exactly what they're doing when it comes to your newborn, because unfortunately we do work in an unregulated industry, and that means there is no legal requirement whatsoever to set up as a newborn photographer. That is frightening when you can see some of the stuff that's being done in the industry just to get the shot, when above all else, newborn safety and the comfort of your baby should be the highest on their list of priorities, and that is more important than anything else. Now, the first thing that we do before a client arrives at the studio is we heat the studio to a certain temperature, and that temperature then ensures that when baby is nude, which they are for the duration of the session, that they're going to be comfortable and sleepy throughout. We know how to check for signs that baby's getting too cold. We know how to check for signs when baby is overheating, so that we can adjust the room temperature accordingly. Secondly to that is hygiene. Now hygiene is insanely important with newborns. They're coming into the studio under 2 weeks old, which means that they are susceptible to infection. We have to make sure that we are taking every precaution possible to ensure that no bacteria is being passed on to that baby. That means that anything that we use on a newborn session is freshly laundered and cleaned each time, so that every baby is coming in and being posed on fresh blankets with clean props in a clean area. That also goes for our hands and any areas, so we will actually sterilise from our hands all the way up to our shoulders, because we are holding baby at all times, and our clothing must also be clean. I'm going to demonstrate head and hands pose to you today. This is one of the most requested poses that we have here at the studio, and it is very important that this pose is composited. So it is more than one image merged together. It's not shot as one image. Shooting it as one image would be dangerous and could potentially cause harm to your baby. So, with this pose, baby is forward, their feet are out front, and they're resting like this on their wrists. Now, obviously, the weight of baby's head would put in too much pressure in order for them to be able to carry out this pose with no support. So it is always important to support the baby at all times. Failure to do so, although they may balance for a couple of seconds, is dangerous, and what could happen at any point is this. You don't want baby's head to come forward, and you don't want their arms to come apart like that. It could hurt them and it could cause them injury. So if we are to execute this shot, we always make sure that the baby's head is supported at all times, and we also make sure that their spine is completely straight and that there's no issues cutting off any circulation in any parts of their legs or their body, just to make sure that they're comfortable throughout the pose. The second pose I'm going to show to you today isn't a pose that we do very often, but it is a very popular pose in the industry again, and that is called potato sack pose. Potato sack pose is where baby is wrapped and they appear to be balancing upright. Now I'm going to do a quick wrap. It's not going to look perfect because obviously I'm doing it very, very quickly. For this pose, a posing ring or similar tool should be used. Now, what we're seeing for this pose is it produces some lovely images of babies upright, their hands posed with their chin resting on them like that. There's normally a nice fluffy rug around that to create some texture to the image, which looks really nice. Now, the issue with this is a lot of photographers are not doing this as a composite. Now, as parents with newborns, you don't want that to be the case at all. You want this image to be done in a safe way that ensures that your baby is safe at all times. Now, babies can balance, and they will for a couple of seconds or minutes, but that doesn't mean that it's safe to do so. Because the issue you're going to have if you leave go of a baby in this pose like that, as you can see, the head is dipped down, the hands are there. With a newborn, the head forms most of the weight. It's more heavy than any other part of their body. The issue here, with their hands being there, is the compression on the rest of their body. It's going to cause some discomfort, and if you can imagine sitting in this position with your head weighted and all your legs crossed up like that, it's not a very comfortable position. So why would you put your baby in that position and let them support themselves? It's not something that would be comfortable for us. Let's not do it to the babies. It should be done supported. If you take their head weight, it takes off the load and it can be done properly and it can be done correctly that way. Because also you're going to see some issue with circulation if you leave a baby to balance. In addition to that, if the baby is wrapped too tightly, you're also going to be putting some dangers in place where you can't see if there's any circulation being cut off, and you can't see the effects of any compression on any other parts of the baby's body. So you need to make sure that if your photographer is wrapping the baby too tightly, that's not safe. You want to be able to rip this wrap off quickly at any time to ensure that the baby is going to be safe and no harm is going to be caused to them during the creation of this image. We're now going to move on to props, so we're going to take it into the other room and we'll show you some of the other poses that are frequently done at the studio. So I'm now going to talk to you a little bit about prop safety. Props are commonly used in the industry, and we often use props. We generally do between 2 and 3 in one session. Now, one of the most common props that we use and a lot of people use is a moon prop. This can be one of the most dangerous type of props to use when not done correctly. So this does need to be ensured that everything when we do this prop is done properly and the baby is posed safely, which is why here at our studio we use 2 people to do the posing for this prop. So myself and Caris will both do the moon pose and positioning, and we'll also both be spottering for the safety reasons involved with doing a prop like this, because it is slightly narrower and it is slightly different to some of the other props that we use. So firstly is what not to do with a prop like this. Now, posing baby something like this on a prop like this would be unsafe for several reasons. Now, I've talked about how babies move when they're awake. A baby that is awake and posed on a narrow prop like this is very dangerous, particularly if nobody is nearby, because all they need to do is hiccup, sneeze, startle, and that baby is going to roll and come straight off that prop, which we don't want. We don't want your baby to be falling off any props and causing any injury to themselves. So we need to make sure that that baby is posed correctly and that baby is comfortable, so that that is not going to happen here at the studio. So I'm going to pose baby correctly on this prop for us now, and I'm going to show you how we stay nearby when it comes to doing props like this. Okay, so when we pose a baby on the prop, we make sure that there's plenty of padding, no sharp edges are around, baby is posed comfortably on their tummy, and that there's 2 of us nearby making sure that that baby doesn't move and that that baby is safe throughout. When the shot is being taken, the photographer, Jordan, will be around about the distance that the camera currently is from where we are now, so you're about 2 meters away from us, and we are always within arm's length of that baby at all times. We do not go any further away than that at any point. If anybody gets up and walks away, that would be unsafe, and that is not acceptable when we're working with newborns. So if a shot is taking place, we stay this distance from the baby either side. If that baby starts to move or starts to startle, straight away my hands come in on the bum and Caris's hands will come in on the head. As soon as baby starts to cry, that baby is coming off that prop straight away and is resettled. If the baby is not asleep, we do not execute this prop. It would not be safe to do any posing on a prop like this if the baby is awake. Okay, so the second prop I'm going to demonstrate now is a bucket prop. So if we pop standing baby off there, and we'll bring our bucket in. Now, buckets are one of the most common type of props used in newborn photography because they do look really nice. Now, unfortunately, when not done properly, again, this is still unsafe. So in a prop like this, you want to make sure that the bottom is weighted so that the baby doesn't topple out of the prop. And then we want to make sure that baby is comfortable. So at the studio, we make sure that there's a lot of padding. If any photographer has your baby posed on a prop and there's not much padding, that wouldn't be safe and that wouldn't be acceptable either. Okay. Again, with a prop like this, myself and Caris would be working on the session to ensure that baby is safe. If baby moves or flings their head back, one of us is there making sure that their head does stay cushioned at all times. So again, we'll pop baby into the prop. Likewise, as we're using a standing baby, it's a lot simpler than with a real baby where we are dealing with movement. But this is the sort of pose that we would be going with in a bucket prop. Again, this would be a composite, so this would be more than one image merged together because we are supporting the baby at all times, okay? Another common one, which is really nice, is the arm drop. So baby is up a little bit further, like this, with their hand hanging down. Again, that is also an example of a composite. If that is shot as one image, that would be unsafe and that would be dangerous. So that's not something that would be acceptable. It's also worth noting that the type of props that we use are suitable for newborn posing, okay? So there's no glass. That is a big no-no in the industry because all you need is someone to hit the prop, cause it to shatter. If it cuts into that artery in the left arm, that is a fatal injury immediately. That's not something that you want when working with newborns. So glass is prohibited at any age. No glass cake stands, no glass mirrors, nothing when it comes to working with babies and children, because glass is a severe liability when it comes to working with young people, and we don't want to take the risk. As photographers and as a studio, we have a duty of care to ensure that our clients and their babies and children are safe at all times, and we have to take all the precautionary measures to ensure that we are working properly and practicing safely. So that's pretty much everything I'm going to cover with you today. I hope that it's been informative, and I hope that you can now select a newborn photographer that can work safely and that they know what they're doing. Don't forget, unfortunately, because this industry is specialist in such a way, the cheapest photographer is not going to be the best photographer. But most importantly, make sure that your baby is safe and ask all the questions that you need to ask before you book a photographer to work with your newborn baby. Thank you for watching. We'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.